Hi everyone, this is Cindy Cray of the Heart, and today I'm going to make 4 cards with you guys using the Doodle strawberry background stamp from, I think, strawberry Doodle background stamp from the Not Too Shabby shop. And I love this stamp. It's pretty unique because I don't have anything like it in my stash, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this one. So I'm very excited to have it and to use it for all my strawberry projects. And I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can use this. I actually am using a very simple method where I stamp this in embossing ink, so Versamark, and then I use white embossing powder over it, and then I ink blend on top of that. So the ink blend I am using is a Distress Oxide. It's what I had on my desk. I used Quiche Flamingo, Picked Raspberry, and Lumberjack. I had all of those on my desk. That's what I used. I'm also using some other strawberry products from the Not Too Shabby shop, including the Sweet Strawberries paper, the ephemera, and the Strawberry Goodness stamp. I use the Strawberry Goodness stamp for all of those sentiments that you see sitting on my desk. And I just stamped a whole bunch of them, and then I just cut them out using various dies. So right now I'm just explaining how I white embossed and just inked over it. So you can see that some of it I didn't do a real good job of making sure at the bottom that my stamp was inked all the way, but no matter because it's going to get, you know, kind of covered up. So I'm using this basket die that I had gotten from Crop and Create. Scrapbook.com has this in their shop. It's actually their branded product. They have a whole strawberry line, and so I just use that basket die, and then I die cut the top part out in this plaid, which is from the Summer Plaids paper, which is the paper pad of the month from the Not Too Shabby shop. And then I made it look like stuff was peeking out of it using the ephemera, so some strawberries and some jam. And I actually really love how that came out because it kind of looks like a picnic basket, so that was pretty cute. So I'm going to go ahead and use foam tape to prop my ephemera images up, and I think the sentiment I picked was "You're my jam." And I'm just going to peel all that liner paper off, and then I'm going to go ahead and place that on my inked background. So it's a really easy way to make backgrounds. I think I stamped and did this method with the embossing ink, I think on 3 panels. So I really enjoyed making these cards. Maybe it was 4, I can't remember now. But it was just an easy way of getting color on there, and I think it looks really pretty. All right, so my next card is going to be just a really kind of a very simple card, and it's just an A2 size card, and I've got this large ephemera image that is kind of its own focal point. So what I did was just use a piece of scrap for the bottom of that, so it kind of looked like she's sitting in a strawberry patch or standing in a strawberry patch. Rather than with strawberries all around it, I guess, but it just needed something to kind of ground it. So I went ahead and just used that little strip of scrap, and then I just have that using double-sided tape, I think is what I used. I do find, I mean, glue does work on embossed images, but I do find sometimes that it needs a lot more time to kind of stick. So if I don't have that kind of time, I find that double stick tape is probably the way to go. I am going to use foam tape though on my ephemera image, so she kind of is propped up above that sort of grounding piece of scrap. And then I had to kind of dig around and kind of figure out what the perfect sentiment was for this image. And I decided on the Strawberry Goodness that I had actually used my nestabilities for. I'm using my berry my Barely Art Precision Craft Glue, which I got from the Not Too Shabby shop. I really love this glue. I actually have a couple that are sitting there in case this one's getting low, so I'm going to run out soon. All right, so then that card is now done. And I'm going to move on to a really simple fun fold card. It is sometimes called an S fold, sometimes called a Z fold, sometimes called a joy fold. But it's very easy to do. I have an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. I score it at 4 1/4 and 2 1/8. So the 4 1/4 I fold in half to make an A2 size card, and then the 2 1/8 part I fold back to create that little fold that you can pull out. And so I'm just gonna put down my image at the bottom of that one. It measures, I think, just a shy less than 5.5 by 4 1/4, so that I get a little white border all around. And this is a good way of using sort of I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, a little bit louder images. You know, you've got paper that has a lot going on, so you can really kind of ground it by using something that's a little bit more solid, which is kind of what this strawberry background was kind of done, more of a solid, even though there's like gradients of color, it's pretty solid. And so that kind of helps break up the busyness of the paper. And so that strip, of course, is a little bit less than 2 1/8 by 5 1/4. And so I'm using this big, fun strawberry house. Reminds me of Strawberry Shortcake Dolls, it really does. And so I put just on 1/2 of that kind of strawberry house some foam tape, and so that will kind of be halfway on to that strawberry background, and then the other half will be on that other side of the card. So I'm digging around trying to decide what I want to do, because I think what I decided to do was that I was also going to have the strawberry house hide a message. So the bottom, I did end up going with the You're My Jam. I think the treat one, I think I might save that to make some tags. I'm kind of waiting for the new tag die from the Not Too Shabby shop to make some tags, I'm thinking, unless I really decide to make tags. But I think the treat yourself will be kind of good for that. And so I put the You're My Jam right down there. I did use glue, and it did pop up a little bit later, so I just kind of had to make sure that I pressed down on there. And then behind the strawberry house, I'm going to go ahead and put another sentiment. And that sentiment is life is short, make it sweet. So it's kind of like got a little hidden message there. Okay, so that card's done. Okay, so that card's done. Now we're going to move on to the last card, which is like a modified bridge card. It's not quite a bridge. It's more of a floating card, I would call it. So to make this card, it's 5.5 by 5 1/4. And on each side, you're going to score 1/2 and 1 inch on each side. And then you're going to fan fold it. And so that'll give you kind of this little kind of float. You were able to do kind of a float. So the back, I'm going to go ahead and glue down my background paper, and it's a little bit less than 5.5 by 4 1/4. So I think it's like 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 or something like that. So, you know, you kind of however, you know, you like. I like to have a little bit of a white border. So I'm going to go ahead and place that down. And so now I'm just got these little sides here. And so I saved all the scrap from the previous card, the Joyful card, because I didn't use an entire, you know, piece of background, strawberry background paper. So I was able to kind of use the rest for my sides. So what I did was I took a piece of acetate that measures like a little bit less than 4 1/4 by 3 inches. And so I put a little bit of adhesive on those panels, and then I stuck down my acetate. So it's like a shorter piece of acetate. It doesn't go all the way to the top. It's just only 3 inches. And then I put my strawberry background panels that I cut down to size, or 1/2 inch by, a little less than 1/2 inch by 5 1/2. And so I put those down, and now I've got my big image. And so I'm using double-sided tape because this is going to get stuck right on top of that acetate. And so when I put it down, it kind of looks a little bit like it's floating a little bit, because it's not, it's kind of popped up with that acetate. And so at the top, I'm going to go ahead and just use this Life is Short, Make It Sweet sentiment. And I've got a little strawberry there that I'm going to go ahead and place, because there's like a little space there on my sentiment that is just perfect for like a little image. And I'm going to put this strawberry image there. And now my floating card is done, and we'll get a quick look at the other cards that I made using this background strawberry doodle stamp. So I think I'm sorry. I think I decided to go ahead and put this on a card. So it's on an actual card that flips up. And so I did do that. Sometimes I forget to do that on camera. So I actually did it this time. I just put it down using some double-sided tape. And then that way I actually have an actual, card ready to go. Okay, now it's time for a quick recap. I made that Z fold, and then I made that very kind of simple card, and I made the one with the basket.